Hello, welcome to the TV room. David Bradley here. I had a fascinating visit with a fellow yesterday. He would be, I guess, in the rock and roll era and other such things. He would be known as a one-hit wonder in that he was interested in the Commodore 64. He did things on the Commodore 64 and then went on to other things in life. But he came up with something really cool. And, well, I don't have all the hardware bits to go with it. Um, well, let me describe it. He came up with a system that could be used in a bar where the um, the people who were waiting the tables had a keypad thing. It had, I think, 16 things on it, and they could punch things in to tell the bartender what drinks had been ordered, and it would also say the price of what had been ordered. Um, and then it would go to his screen that was elsewhere, so he could look at it, and they could, quickly do these back and forth things. And I really haven't looked at it that much, but I do have the program. But anyway, I got from him two Commodore 64's. Well, this one. Okay. Oh, okay. I see. Okay, so here's the top case. And if you look at it, it's got extra things here. And it looks like, from this vantage point, and this may have been the one that actually did the workings because he didn't know where the rest of the keyboard was. What he has done is he has rewired the keyboard inputs so that it would work with this keypad thing. And so the keyboard itself was rather, um, well, it wasn't needed because the machine would sit, probably hid away somewhere that nobody could see it. The cables ran out. And, the cables went to where they needed to go to. And it's funny because when I first looked at it, I was like, oh, that's interesting. The keyboard's been taken apart. And there it is. But anyway, there, if you see the white wires, they have been swapped out, and they run to these plugs here. They do. So I will have to look further at the program. Let's see. So here is the top of the machine. Now it's funny. He told me at one point they sold the bar, and apparently they had offered him. This was like 30 years ago or more. They offered him $800 for his thing, the drink thing that he did, and he decided no. So he took it all home, and it sat there. So this is something that nobody has ever seen before. Nobody. It was literally one. It was almost like a one-hit wonder, but it was never a hit, except in the bar that it was in, because no one ever saw it. Nobody ever knew it existed to this day. No one's ever seen. I saw the thing running yesterday. I was like, wow, that's cool. Anyway, here is the 64 that it ran on. It is a oh my 326298 revision A. So it's a Commodore 64. It is an early board. It is. How do you tell it's an early board? Well, by the revision, but also you see the cover here over the video chip. That is the original board. It is the original. Now I have not plugged this in. I have not tried it, but I'm sure that I will. So besides that, he had another 64, and it was up and running, and it too has an extra plug in the side, just the one, I'm not sure. It's got to be related. Maybe this was the prototype, and this is the one they actually used. I don't know. He also had. There was a cartridge he made mention of, and maybe it was the Quick Brown something, and he said that by having that in there, and I guess the thing was connected to a disk drive, that would, when they just, if there was a power failure, they turned it on, it would just come up and start up, and everything would be dandy. This is remarkably clean. Anyway, I saw this one working. I have not run it through the test anything. And yes, of course, as I always keep saying, I try not to get more things. Ooh, this one. Looking at the label, it's made in Canada, and they did indeed have production facilities in Canada. This one was also made in Canada. Serial number 213902, made in Canada. This one, serial number 109979, made in Canada. Now, I hate losing screws, so I'll try not to. I'm going to open this up, set the screws aside, and have a look inside. I would bet it's the same kind of board, but I don't know. It is not. Oh. Okay. So what we have here, funny, boards get swapped. When things get sent back to Commodore and they get working, they get sent out in other things. So one would think that with this lower serial number, that it would have an older board. But in fact, it does not. It has a more modern, if you count, like 40 years old modern. And it is a 250407. And everything is not socketed except for, I suspect, the SID chip and the video chip. I would suspect. So the other one, most everything is socketed. Anyway, there again is a look at the more modern board. Anyway, I did see this working. It was working on a monochrome monitor that was amber, of all things. Amber. Let's look in the top here. Oh yeah, okay. This is a similar rig in that, if you look, there are wires that go to this connector. And if you look at the keyboard connector, those same wires, which seem to be better color coded than maybe the prototype, go to the keyboard connector. They do. And other things here. Because basically what they were doing was changing the input from the keyboard to a little keyboard. Excuse me. So, magical. Anyway, I will test this. And we'll see where we're at. But also, I will get and bring in the books and discs and things and stuff, and we'll look at the program and see what's what. And maybe I should write to him again and ask. There was sort of this other terminal thing. I'm not sure if it worked. Yeah, I should write to him and just say, does that thing work? And maybe I should see about getting that too. But it was so basically this was set up where the waitresses and stuff, could see what they were doing and requesting whatever, and then there was another thing that was by the bartender that he or she could then confirm whatever, make whatever, and I don't know how far. I'm sure it wasn't just like across the thing, because otherwise we like just, four of those, whatever. I think there was some distance involved in all of this. Anyway, I will check with him. The other thing he had there that was completely unrelated was he had a Gremlin X. And it's yellow, early 70s. If for those that don't know what a Gremlin is, Google Gremlin AMC. They were, well, a lot of cars way back when, had a lot more character. Many cars today, um, they all look pretty much the same. Slight little things, but there's not a whole lot of cars that just stand out as, wow, look at that. Whereas in the earlier days of the automotive industry, there was a lot more um, individuality that came with cars. There was. Um, and it's not that there aren't some still, like, there's some really incredible funky cars these days, and some do have their own character and style and grace and charm and all that. They do. But a lot of just the cars and the SUVs, um, unless you look at the the logo, or we're paying really close attention, um, there's not that wow factor. But a Gremlin, that's a car. That's, well, I guess maybe, possibly, the only another shape similar to a Gremlin was make kind of like a Volkswagen Rabbit kind of thing. But certainly the one thing about the Gremlin that was unique, and perhaps not always the greatest thing, I'll tell you a story about that, is the back window. I guess it was kind of a hatchy thing. It was flat, 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 on an angle, so it didn't, blast you with the sun if you were driving behind it. But it was dead stone cold flat. And from what I know, that made it less strong. How do I know that? Well, when I attended John Wanless Public School, in the field, which wasn't a field, it was like asphalt, there was a baseball diamond, and we would often play at lunch. We would. And the diamond was, let me think about this. It would have been in the south. Just a second. South east corner of this concrete and asphalt jungle that we played on. And so basically, here we were in the diamond in the corner, and right over here, over a fence, was the teacher's parking lot. So I was up to bat, and I bat this way. Anyway, I fouled off a ball. It soared into. I got a lot of it, but it was foul. It soared high into the sky, went over the fence, and nailed the back window of a Gremlin and shattered it. Kaboom. I still can hear the sound. Boom. And I was like, ah! And then I went and looked. Anyway. And of course, later in the day it rained, so I remember seeing people out there trying to cover the hole. And anyway. And I really didn't get into trouble for it. It was not intentional at all. It wasn't like, yeah, I'm going to foul that over there. There's a Gremlin over there. I'm going to nail that back window. Anyway, it was just one of those things. And really, it was just poor placement of the parking lot. I think now, I haven't been back there in a long time, but it used to be that on one side of the school was kind of the yard for the small children, and on the other side was for the bigger ones, and the parking lot was over there. And actually, the parking lot doubled. They had put a thing in, whereas in the summer and other times and weekends that weren't there, there was a tennis court thing. put up. I guess it was pretty much in the summer when the lot wasn't needed. Anyway, I think, and I would have to go look, that they have since changed the parking lot to be where the small children were. And now the whole other thing has been, instead of being just concrete and asphalt and other such things, I think it's got grass and playthings and all kinds of stuff so that everybody goes out there. But see, it used to be, as in, if you go by any pretty much old Toronto school and you look and you say, oh, look, there's an old Toronto school, and you see a big room, or a room anyway, that has a big curved window, that is the kindergarten room. And of course, what happened there was um, the the kindergarten room door led right out to that separate playing area, which is now the parking lot. Actually, yes, you know what? It's a funny thing, and someday perhaps I'll go back there and look for the spot. But there was a teacher at the school. I will not name him, but he was well known for his, how do I put this gently, cruelty. Absolute cruelty, which would not fly in these days. Anyway, I saw him picking up kids by their hair, and it always seemed he would do this to boys while the girls laughed, ha 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 ha. Anyway, one day, and I don't remember what inspired him to do this to me, but, and I was not very old. I don't know if I was 6 or 7, or I don't remember the split of the yards, but he picked me up by the throat, like, and there was a fence, and the fence sort of had as I remember, it had a concrete kind of curb base thing, and then the fence went up from there, and there was a little bit of a ledge. So he picked me up forward, like under by the throat, and put me up against the fence so that my feet would just barely touch the concrete thing, so that if I should slip or whatever, I'd be choking on his hand again. And I don't remember what it was about, and I don't know why. This, how do I put this properly? Cruel educator. And I hesitate to call him an educator. He was cruel. Um, stuck his, and meanwhile, this was all for the hilarity of some of the girls who were around. Ha 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 ha! Look at that! Ha ha! Anyway, I don't know if he's still alive, but you know what? To this day, I'm very sensitive about my neck and very ticklish about my neck and very defensive about my neck. And perhaps one day I will go back to that spot because I remember it well, and tell the story again. And yeah, I wonder. You always hear about people making complaints from years before of usually sexual abuse, but this was physical, mental, like just torment. And it's funny. I was in, I think, I was in a lot of split classes where they didn't have enough for, um, you know, I hesitate to use a straight class because that word has changed. But anyway, they didn't have enough, so they had kind of enough for like a class and a half or 2 classes and a half. Maybe it was 2.5. So I ended up in a variety of split classes. There was one fellow. He was leaving the school after that year. His family was moving, but they were handing out, I guess, report cards or things, or I don't know. But I remember the teacher said, "Oh well, yeah, he was wondering who would I have had next year? Who would I have had next year?" And when the person said this name, a 2-syllable name, you know what? He fell to his knees and thanked every religious deity there was that he was moving, lest he have that teacher. And the rumors were that, this guy would take chalk and wing it at people, which of course could take out an eye. And all kind, it was just, it shouldn't have been. It should not. It should not have been. Now, how did I get onto that? Oh yeah, the Gremlin. Anyway, So this fellow has a Gremlin. It's up for sale, I think, on Kijiji. And if you're into Gremlins, um, apparently a lot has been spent on making it mechanically wonderful. Apparently there are some rust issues, um, but you know, if you're into Gremlins or you think, wow, I'd really like a Gremlin, look on Kijiji. And by the way, it's not just a Gremlin; it's a Gremlin X, and that was the AMC experimental cars. It was, or so they called. Like, I knew a fellow growing up. He had a Javelin, but it wasn't just a Javelin. It was an AMX, which meant it had a bigger engine, bigger stuff, more powerful. Like I guess kind of to take on like the Mustang and stuff. Anyway, so I have another couple of Commodore 64s to check out. When I was talking to him, he said, "Well, how many 64s do you have?" And of course, the answer is, I don't know. The only answer I have right now is two more. And this one, I'm intrigued by this one. I like this one. Because, why? Well, it's an original. Old original. Now, is it in the original case? I don't know. Actually, who knows? Maybe with all that he did, maybe the bottom of the case got swapped. Actually, if I look at it, I guess there's most of the screws are missing. One of them looks like it's here. Anyway, who knows? But I will explore further his program, and perhaps I'll write to him again and ask about the kind of the terminal thing that he came up with, and say, that might be something that if it still works before you chuck it or whatever, that maybe I could demonstrate this thing. Or maybe, who knows, maybe we could get him out. He's not a Commodore guy, but he was a Commodore guy. We could get him out to demonstrate and tell the story of what he did, because it was fascinating. And then he went on to be um, all kinds of things in the world of airlines and stuff, and he had fascinating helicopter stories. Fascinating. Anyway, so that's how I spent a little time yesterday. So I'll let you know how it goes. Stay tuned. We'll test these. Well, first of all, I saw the one working. I still have more things to bring in from the car. So I will. Anyway, thanks for coming. Have a lovely, lovely day. Bye for now.